So right now we are in the thick of that sort of October conference season. And because you're a social impact leader who is at least a little bit curious about building up your thought leadership, about getting more visible on LinkedIn and beyond, you are probably thinking about conferences as a really great place to take those online relationships you've built into the real world, be face to face, meet people in person, and just talk about all the things that you can do together. And then, of course, too, to meet new friends and, meet up with old mentors and just learn a bunch, right? Just learn a bunch too. And so personally, I'm looking forward to 3 conferences or gatherings this month. One is the Communications Network in Kansas City. I'm also attending SoCap in San Francisco on behalf of one of my clients, and the Orange County Grantmaker Summit here in my neck of the woods is happening in a couple weeks too. But, to get the most out of these events and really maximize your attendance at these gatherings, the work should start before you get there and continue after you leave. And so LinkedIn is a really great tool to help you not only prepare for a conference, but to also maintain and strengthen the connections that you make, into the future. So in this podcast episode, we are going to talk about how to leverage LinkedIn so that your reputation precedes you in terms of, when you show up to these places and you're in a room of a bunch of people that you want to meet. And also to turn those sort of brief conference encounters into an ongoing, maybe lifelong friendship, or at least a connection that can drive your mission forward. So enjoy this episode. Hey, I'm Tanya Bhattacharya, and you are listening to the Campfire Circle podcast. We are all about breaking down the boardroom table as the ultimate space of leadership, and instead replacing it with a campfire. Because that's where we share our stories. That's where we build warm community, and that is where there's always room. I'm building an impactful business in public through thought leadership, and I'm taking you behind the scenes all along the way. So if you want to stand out as you stand up for your mission, you are in the right place. Okay, so let's start with the before the conference. And so anytime I think about big events and like preparing for events, I think about how I used to plan this big annual fundraiser back in my nonprofit job. And a lot of people, like my friends and colleagues, they'd see me that morning. It was a breakfast, and they'd be like, "Oh, you've got to be so stressed out." But honestly, by the time I showed up to the place, it was just time to surrender. It was just time to be in the moment because all the preparation had been done ahead of time. And so I think of conferences in a similar way. They're a little different, of course, because you don't know who you're going to meet and you want to leave space for those magic connections that happen in the moment and the new friends that you're going to meet in the bathroom or the hallway or in the elevator and all of that kind of stuff. But I also know that preparation is key. And so by the time you show up to the conference venue, there are a couple things that it would be good for you to have done. So I would say about 2 to 3 weeks before the conference, take some time to see what the event is doing in terms of, do they have an app? Do they use Hova or Hova? I don't know if it's Hova or Hova. I think it's Hova, but I could be wrong. But a lot of these conferences have apps and things that they use so that people can mingle and mix and get to know each other beforehand. Usually there's an attendee list. Definitely there's going to be a speaker lineup. That's going to be there whether there's an app or not. There's going to be organizations that are sponsoring the conference. And so just take some time, like schedule some time in your calendar to peruse that app and just connect with people beforehand. Schedule meetups. Add the sessions that you want to attend to your calendar so you have a general sense of what you definitely want to attend while you're there. And just, I know that some conferences are massive, like there's thousands and thousands of people that are going to be there. And when that's the case, you can only do so much, but go through and take some time to really see who's attending, because especially for these smaller and more intimate conferences, it's a great way to just start that relationship building early. And some of the things that you want to be looking for is, oh, this person that I've been friends with online, I've been seeing their content for years. They're going to be there and I can finally meet them. Or a previous client that you used to work with, or an old board member from your organization, or somebody who works for a organization that you've always wanted to partner with in some way. You think they're doing great work. Maybe you don't know them, the organization's brand, and you would love to meet them and just get to know them, right? Those are all things you want to be looking out for. I know that it can be overwhelming to look at this big list and feel like you're scrolling forever and ever, but there's stuff there that I think you can take note of. And so, yeah, intriguing titles, people who work in spaces that intersect with yours, right? Whether that's climate or whether that's mental health, all of these kinds of things. You have a general sense, I think, after doing the work that you do of who would be an interesting partner for you. So don't be afraid to, maybe you can send them a message in the conference app, but I'll also say, yes, like I have Whova, like I'm on all these conference apps, but sometimes I'm not always on there and sometimes I'll miss it. And so don't be afraid to search for these folks on LinkedIn and send a personalized connection request. And you might be thinking, is that salesy? Is that aggressive? Is that like too much? Are they going to think I'm spamming them? And what I would say to that is if it comes from a genuine place and your intention is to connect and just get to know them as a human and see what can emerge from that relationship, that will be felt. That good intention will be felt. And so in the connection request, I would keep it simple. You don't have a lot of characters to play with anyway. I would just mention, hey, I'm attending this conference too. Maybe you can find a point of like connection from their profile, see something from their profile that stands out to you, and mention that. Or instead, you could maybe ask them a question like what they're most looking forward to at that conference, or if they've ever been to that city before, or if it's their first time attending this event, or like whatever, like some question that you can ask to just set the stage for a conversation. And all of that will set the stage for deeper and warmer interaction once you're actually at the event itself. And I know you're busy. I know you have client work. I know you have a year-end campaign to prepare for. I know this is like very easy to kick down the can until all of a sudden you're like in the plane or at the event. But if you can set aside just a little bit of time, a few weeks in advance, it really does make a big difference in your experience and your ability to just like connect with people. If you wait until you're at the event, a lot of times the people you really want to meet with are probably already going to be somewhat scheduled out, right? It's going to be a little harder to find that time. And even if you don't set up a time to meet with them, people do remember you in person if you make a real, genuine interaction online. So some of the other things you can do as well is use the LinkedIn search feature to find out or just like rediscover if you have any colleagues or friends who live in that city. So like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to Kansas City, actually for the first time. I'm going to San Francisco, which I go there all the time. But there's probably a lot of people who, if you think about the last couple of years, people have moved a lot. And really, we all do so much stuff online these days that I don't even know where a lot of my friends live. I really don't. And sometimes it surprises me. I'm like, oh, you live there? I thought you lived over there. You know what I mean? So what I would do is take a look at your first degree connections on LinkedIn and then filter it down by geography. Essentially do a search for all the people who are in your first degree connections. You can select that. And then you can filter it down by the city that you're traveling to or the region that you're traveling to. And it will pop out a list of all of the people who you're connected with that live in that area. And so you might be surprised and excited. And yeah, you're going to see a list of names of people that there's going to be some people there that you probably want to connect with. And so reach out with a message and see if they want to get together while you're in town or go for a walk or something before the conference starts for the day. And then another thing you can also do is consider posting, like making a post on LinkedIn about the conference. And I would do that just like maybe a week or so before you go. And some of the things that you can talk about is talk about why you decided to go to that event, why you're excited about it, what you hope to learn, maybe some of the sessions that you are really excited to attend, who you're looking forward to meeting there. You could tag the people putting on the conference, like their organizational LinkedIn page. You could tag people that you're excited to see there or people that you know are going there. And this is something you want to be a little careful with. I do think it's helpful to tag other people in your post, but to really do it with people that you have some level of a relationship with. There is some level of advantage, both from an algorithm perspective and just letting people know you're excited to be with them. So think about that. Think about creating a post before you go. And then finally, before going, I want you to really sit and think about what is it that you want out of this experience? Are you looking for specific guests for your podcast? Are you breaking into a new market or creating a new service in 2025 and you want to meet 3 of your new ideal clients so that you can do some market research with them, some informal conversation, market research with them? Are you trying to get people signed up for your upcoming webinar series? Are you trying to meet the people who are planning this conference so that you can potentially pitch them to speak at the event next year? Are you just trying to learn something new and just use this experience as pure professional development and honing your craft? There's so many reasons why you might go to a conference, but Uncle Iroh, one of my favorite fictional characters, says, look inward and ask yourself the big questions. Who are you and what do you want? And so I think so many times we're just like, we have the conference on our calendars, we go there, we do the thing. I really want you to think about what it is that you want out of this event. Because if you don't know what you want, it's harder to get what you want, right? And okay, so I know I said finally already, but there's one more thing that I would do before you go, which is to schedule a big chunk of time when you get back, like at least a couple of hours, and save that time on your calendar to actually follow up with the people that you met. If you're like me, if it's not on the calendar, it probably doesn't happen. So just go ahead and block off a significant portion of time now, because oftentimes it takes more time than you think. So do that. That's all before. Now, in terms of during the conference, so what do you do during the conference? Be in the moment. Be in the moment with people. What I also recommend that you do is before you go, download LinkedIn's mobile app. If you haven't downloaded it yet, like this is your little nudge to do that. I have business cards, like I own business cards, but I rarely give them out. Instead, I prefer to connect with people on LinkedIn, just like on the spot. And in that message, I'll usually mention like where we met, or I'll include a key point from our conversation in that request to make it more memorable. Back in the day when I used to attend a lot of conferences in the behavioral health space, there was somebody, and I don't remember exactly who it was. I want to give them credit, but I don't remember who it was. But they would take a picture, like a selfie, essentially, and then send that as a message so that you immediately remember, you were like taken back to that conversation. So you can do that if you want. That's just another idea, but you're going to be around a lot of potential new friends and business colleagues who can support your mission. So if you can connect with people right then and there, that's a good thing to do. And then also, you are probably taking notes from all the great sessions that you're attending, just so that you have your own personal notes. And I would consider doing a recap from the notes that you're taking. You could either do one from the entire conference, or you could do one at the end of each day and just share your key takeaways and share a few of the photos that you took that day, because that actually gives you more opportunities to interact with other attendees live. If you share something from day 1 on LinkedIn and then show up on day 3, a lot of times people will be like, oh, I saw your post. Even if they don't necessarily know you, there's probably some mutuality between the people, or just that will show up with people and it will just help you meet more people during the event. Now, on other platforms like Instagram or whatever, sometimes people will share multiple times in a day, or people used to live tweet when they were at events. And I actually wouldn't do that on LinkedIn. And there's 2 reasons for that. One is posting more than once per day actually reduces your reach. So you don't want to post on LinkedIn more than once per day. And then second, and maybe more important than reach, is who has time for that? I really like the once per day recap because it gives me a chance to pour through my notes at the end of the day in my hotel room, reflect on what I learned, just appreciate the day. It's almost like a little ritual to process the day and get ready for the next day. I think any more than that, if you're trying to share a LinkedIn post between sessions, I think it can take you out of the moment. And I would instead focus on connecting with the people who are right in front of you. You know what I mean? Essentially find what works for you. Figure out what works for you. I like the once a day or a recap for the whole conference. But if you are going to do that, don't forget to use the event hashtag, because that's going to increase your visibility among the people who are attending. And most conferences probably have an event hashtag that they're using. It's probably printed on the program that you got, or it's in Whova, or it's on people's presentation slides. There's probably some kind of event hashtag. So use that. And then finally, so you attended the conference, you're flying home, you're thinking about what to do now. So after the conference, so I really do think this is where the magic happened. This is important. So, because the event might be over, but that's where the relationship nurturing it begins. And so often, and I have definitely been guilty of this. I think all of us are guilty of this. Like, we meet so many great people, we're excited. And then once we get back, there's a client fire. There's all this stuff to do. We have so much email in our inbox, and we just keep pushing this back and back. And then we never follow up with people. But really, I want you to try within a week of the conference, try to follow up with the people, especially the ones that you are really excited about having met. If you haven't already, connect with them on LinkedIn so you can stay in touch with each other over time. And then if you already have a next step in mind or something that you discussed about, like something you could do together, I would reach out with a message and get that set up, or an email and get that set up, and reference something specific that you talked about instead of just saying, hey, it was great to meet you. Hope to stay in touch. And maybe sometimes that's all you can say. But instead, I would think about a way to keep that conversation going with something specific, whether it's a potential specific collaboration or sharing an ask and making an offer. Like, really think about something specific there. Consider writing a LinkedIn post or an article that summarizes your key takeaways from the conference. Feel free to tag the speakers, new connections. Again, use the event hashtag. Because this, again, positions you as someone thoughtful, someone reflective, someone who is, applying what you've learned, right? Someone who's a mover and a shaker, someone who's good to know in your sector, in your field. And then think back about the goals that you set for yourself before going to the event, and think about if you met them, or think about if they were meetable at this event itself. Or maybe think about if a new or different or better goal came up for you while you were there that surprised you. But really take some time to think about your participation as a whole and consider if you want to attend next year or not. Or maybe it's a conference you want to go to every 5 years. Or think about, while it's fresh in your mind, if it was worthwhile to your goals and if you want to go again. And if you do, if this is a conference you want to attend every year, maybe reach out and see if that conference has an early bird rate that you can lock in and take advantage of now and just save that money. So there you have it. These are some thoughts on how to leverage LinkedIn before, during, and after a conference to really maximize your efforts. Because if you do have that genuine connection or interaction with someone, LinkedIn is a really powerful tool to stay in touch. And I probably missed some things, right? So I would love to know, what did I miss? How do you use LinkedIn to prepare for or maximize during or follow up after an event? Reach out to me on LinkedIn, let me know. And if it's something that I missed during the episode, I would love to share about it as a post and obviously give you the credit. So let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, so you've heard from us. Now I want to hear from you. Leaving a review helps us so much in growing our reach and supporting more folks with this podcast. And even better, I would love for you to send me a note on LinkedIn with your takeaways from this episode. I cherish and respond to every message, so I can't wait to hear from you. And if you want to go even deeper, check out the show notes to take your next step.